Dreams Part 2. When I finally feel hard plastic disappear from beneath me. The surface I crash into isn't a cushioned mat. It's solid wood. After wincing, I open my eyes. Expecting to see the bright fluorescent lights overhead, I stare instead at nothing, to be precise. I stare into unadulterated pitch blackness. Then I look around and I see some light, though my eyes don't adjust. That'd be pointless in a dream. I can tell I'm in a small room, from the moonlight leaking in through the blinds, but they're clamped to the windowsill by a lock. I'm already scared at this point. Dreamy can't be any older than 8, 9 tops. And I'm transported back to a time where the darkness was real and coming to get me. The room is L-shaped, and there's a door to my right. I try it, but it's locked. It's got one of those old keyholes, large enough to look through. And I do just that. Nothing but a dusty staircase. Sometimes it goes up, and sometimes down. Sometimes there's no staircase, it's just black. But every time, it's quiet. So quiet I can feel the silence, a heavy pall of dread in the air. In the far corner, by the window, is a baby's cot, empty. Eerie enough, if it weren't for the beady-eyed brown bear reared up behind it. Taxidermy? The faintest suggestion of moonlight glints off those eyes, and its silvery outline is downright massive. It's horrifying. I know it's stuffed, but it feels so wrong. I had a deathly fear of bears as a kid. But in the nightmares they showed up and they were always alive, usually chasing me. Never like this, a monument of childhood terror. Harmless yet more intimidating than ever. It's usually after seeing the bear that I start to shuffle into the corner furthest from it. Sometimes, I'll go back to the keyhole and have another look, and I find that now there's something in front of it. It's too dark to tell, but I think I see movement. My eyes flick back to the stuffed bear. I'm scared that, no, I know that if I stay in the light, it'll come alive and maul me. Now obscured in the darkest corner, I bump against something. At first I think it's bedding, but no, it's too coarse. Desperate for any comfort, I wrap my arms around it and, to my mind-numbing horror, it's warm. It's hot. And it's when I register that heat, that the thing I've just snuggled up next to lets out a deep, gurgling, carnivorous growl. There's no way for me to not wake up with a start when that happens, so I don't know if that's where the dream is supposed to end, or if I just don't want to experience whatever it has in store. So, I'll call that the end of Dream 2, I know. It's hard to see any relevance between this and the first dream, but just bear with me. It all makes sense, I think, though I'm still figuring out how exactly it does. I'm not going straight into the third dream just yet, because I want to talk about Jason. I say we were friends in middle school, but acquaintances would be more accurate. I saw him in school, of course, but only a handful of times outside, and a good half of those would be chance encounters at parties or pubs, ergo. I had more than a hard time getting into contact. He still has a Facebook page, but like a lot of us, moved away from the platform a while back. I resorted to his mom's page where there was a post about Jason's new website. He's a beat producer now apparently. Real old school type rhythm. I actually got hooked listening to some of his samples before. Remembering why I was there, I found his contact email and shot him a message, with a little refresher to tell him who I was and my mobile number. Within the same day, he'd got back to me via text, and as luck would have it, he lives in the next town over. I asked if he was free for a catch-up. He said he was on Friday morning. So I cleared my schedule and drove over there when the day came around. It's been best part of a decade since I saw him last, so I didn't want to go straight into business after all that time. We met in a tea shop a few blocks from his place, and talked about how our lives have been going. I got married 3 years ago to my girlfriend Kim, and have been on a steady freelance programming career for 5. Jason has a boyfriend, not married but living together. He's in a bit of a rut financially, but told me a pretty big rap name has commissioned beats from him, so there's that. I held this conversation with as much sincerity as possible, knowing my reason for being there. I tried to bring it up naturally. In reality, there's no way to transition into dream talk in such a long-awaited reunion. I wasn't even sure what I was looking to gain in talking about it. But one thing pushed me to do so more than anything. Jason looked exactly as he does in the first dream, and I haven't seen him for nearly 10 years, so I gotta ask, Jason mused. Why the abrupt contact? Not that it's a bother or anything, but I'd be lying if I said I thought about you, like, ever. No, I get it, I replied. It's just okay. It's a little weird. But I've been having recurring dreams, and in one of them you make an appearance. Jason smirked. At this, HMM, what kind of dreams we talking about? I'm taking you no. So I hope you didn't come here to admit some repressed feelings. Though he obviously spoke in jest, I felt my cheeks flush, and cursed myself for not thinking about how he'd interpret this. No, dude. Nothing like that. I chuckled. It's different. The dreams, they're more like, how to put it, like they're halfway between dream and nightmare. Cocking an eyebrow, Jason just stared at me, waiting for me to continue. I told him about the first dream and, unsurprisingly, he agreed it was pretty bizarre how I dreamt his face as he looks now. When we hadn't seen each other for so long, then I told him about the second dream. That's where things changed. I summed it up in much briefer a manner than I've done here. Already I could tell he felt uneasy. It was in his eyes. But it's when I got to the part about climbing up the slide. When those eyes got glassy. You okay? You're sweating, I asked. Jason shook his head a little, apparently shedding the weight of something. Or some of it, at least. His lips parted and I could almost see the words being joined and nailed together in his head. The picture of his face made me shudder. It was the same as in the dream. What this kid? Do you remember what he looked like? I frowned, but described him as best I could. Right, yeah. About my age. I mean, however old I am in the dream. Like 7, I guess. Thick glasses, short hair, maybe shaved, and a big puffy mole under his right eye. By the time I was done, Jason was still. I wasn't even sure he was breathing, until he mustered a few choice words on the rim of his eyelid. I gave him a puzzled look, concerned as to his sudden change in demeanor. He answered before I asked. I had a brother, you know, Jacob. We were twins, and the only way you could tell us apart was that mole under his eye. And the glasses, course, hated and loved each other to bits. He got leukemia a month after our 6th birthday. He started choking up. I laid a hand on his shoulder, hoping to comfort him. And it worked, however slightly. They had him on chemo right away, and things were looking up. Beat it in under 2 years. His hair started to grow back, slowly. And I thought we were starting to look the same again. My mom took us out to one of those places. Those fucking places. I thought he'd break down again. But he raised a hand and steadied his breath, and he did it too.